William Backhouse Astor inherited most of his father's $20 million fortune. John Jacob Astor's son learned well. In the 1860s, when working-class New Yorkers were going through a severe economic depression, officers of a Russian fleet docked in New York raised $4,760 to buy fuel for the poor. William Astor, however, raised rent 30%. When he died in 1875, he owned 700 buildings and houses, most of them crammed with poor tenants. His legacy is the multitude of slums where the poor starved. Yet the Astor name still graces communities from Queens in New York to Oregon. New York's other China traders. Astor receives the credit for launching New York City into the opium trade, but others soon followed. Many were New Englanders who opium. From the Lodge to the Den, 263 moved operations to New York. Prominent families included the Griswolds from Old Lyme, Connecticut, the Lowes from Salem, and the Grinnells from New Bedford. 11 The Griswold family, Nathaniel Griswold and George Griswold III, built the family fortune through their ownership of a large fleet of trading ships that called on ports all over the world. Originally based in East Lyme, a small port on the Long Island Sound coast of Connecticut, the Griswold brothers ran an empire. Their black and white checkered flag was seen in China, the West Indies, and South America. Although the Griswolds have not become a household name in subsequent centuries, many family members achieved prominence as a result of trading in the 18th century. The Griswolds' agent in Canton was Russell & Company, in which a Griswold relative was a partner. Nathaniel Griswold was content to be a merchant, but his brother George had greater ambitions. George was a director of Columbia Insurance, was involved in the Bank of America, and dabbled in other ventures including gold mining. Other family members also made the merchant connection. For example, Nathaniel's daughter Catherine married Peter Lorillard, New York's first tobacco merchant. The Griswolds played a role in early American politics, as Matthew Griswold was brought to the position of Federalist Governor of Connecticut through family money. Future Griswold served in the United States House of Representatives, and the Senate as politicians for Connecticut and Pennsylvania. John D. Lodge, the great-great-grandson of sea trader George Griswold III, was Connecticut's governor from 1951 to 1955. Still other Griswolds became captains of industry, bishops, and college professors. John Cleve Green, one Griswold employee who later achieved prominence on his own, was John Cleve Green, who is usually remembered as one of the major benefactors of Princeton University. Born in Lawrenceville, New Jersey, 264 from the sacred to the profane in 1802, an elder of the Presbyterian Church, Green began his career in the counting room of N.L. Griswold of New York City. He was soon promoted to a supercargo, and traveled to South America, Spain, and finally China at the height of the opium trade. Green married the boss's daughter, Sarah Griswold. Green's connections and his knack for being in the right place at the right time landed him a position with Russell & Company. After 6 years in Canton working for the preeminent opium house, Green returned to New York. He continued in the China trade, and also advanced his career as director of the Bank of Commerce and other banks, railroads, and New York Hospital. The Lowe family was a group of Massachusetts merchants that moved to New York. Seth Lowe was born on Cape Ann in 1782. He moved at an early age to Salem, where he earned his living as a trader and a merchant. In Dorship's Cafe, Helen Augur mentions that Seth Lowe married Mary Porter, which connected the Lowes with the prominent Lord family. Seth had 12 children, and as the Salem area was losing its importance, he moved his family to New York. There Seth and his brother William Henry Lowe, a senior partner in Russell & Company, helped expand the American role in the trade that Russell inherited from the Perkins Syndicate. Several of Seth Lowe's children were involved in the China trade, but his son Abiel Abbott Lowe achieved the greatest fame. Abiel Lowe joined Russell & Company as a clerk just a short time before the Opium Wars started. He took over the Forbes's position of personal secretary and agent for Haucker, which helped to expand his wealth and power. After acquiring work experience and connections, Abiel decided to go out on his own. He returned to New York and commissioned the fastest clip the ship's money could buy. Only the Ford's ships could compete with his. His Lowe and brothers remained in the forefront, and continued trading with China and Japan, even when most other companies had left the trade. Profits from his Abiel Lowe's Asia business were invested in the first opium. from the lodge to the Den 265 Atlantic Cable, and the building of the Chesapeake and Ohio Railroad. His son Seth graduated from Columbia University in 1870, and went on to become mayor of Brooklyn, and then the first mayor of New York City after it consolidated in 1898. Seth Low the Younger is famous for donating $1 million, supposedly one-third of his fortune, to build the Low Library at Columbia. Abiel Low, who married Ellen Almira Dow, had a daughter also named Ellen, who in 1869 married into the Pierpont family, which would later be known as the Pierpont family. The Pierpont and Morgan families were eventually united, and played a significant role in the development of American finance. The House of Morgan was actually started by China trader George Peabody. Described as a solitary miser, Peabody nevertheless joined forces with Barings Bank to get American states to pay on their bond debts, much of which was in British hands. Barings went as far as to bribe famed statesman Daniel Webster to make speeches on the issue. Peabody bought the bonds for pennies on the dollar, and reaped a fortune when they were finally repaid. Like other Salem merchants, he amassed great wealth in the China trade and invested in railroads. Because he was heirless, Peabody gave his money to philanthropic causes, including a library in Salem, and he turned over his company to young Junius Spencer Morgan. Junius Morgan's heir was son J. Pierpont Morgan, whose stamp on Barings Bank would last for more than a century. 12 The Grinnell family. The Grinnells are another China trading family whose origins are sketchy, but they most likely possess a Huguenot background. Cornelius Grinnell was an American sea captain who became a privateer during the American Revolution. He married Sylvia Howland, which established the Grinnells among New England's first families. Other Grinnells married into Rhode Island's Brown dynasty, and into the Russell family. Joseph Grinnell, son of Cornelius, cultivated the family wealth in the shipping and whaling businesses. Grinnell collaborated with Man 266 front the sacred to the profane by the name of Preserve Fish and Joseph's brother Henry, to establish the firm of Fish, Grinnell and Company. Over time Fish was dropped from the name and the business became Grinnell, Minton and Company. The company would become one of New York City's largest shipping firms. The Grinnell family roots were in New Bedford, where the first of the Greek Revival mansions was built for Joseph. His profits, like those of many other merchants, were put into the textile trade, and he founded the still in operation Wamsutter Mills. Various Grinnells later financed polar explorations and rescue missions, pioneered real estate development in Key West, and even founded town Grinnell, Iowa, and its local college, Grinnell College. Howland and Aspinwall, another company that moved from New England to New York during the golden years of the opium trade, was Howland and Aspinwall. This merger of two founding families spawned great wealth for generations to come. John Howland was the first of the clan to travel to America, where he married a fellow Mayflower passenger. John's son, Joseph Howland, started in the whaling business in Connecticut. Joseph's sons also considered the sea to be a road to wealth, and went into shipping. Howland Shipping would take part in the sugar and slave trade in the Caribbean, and in ventures in Cuba, Mexico, and the Mediterranean, before discovering the China trade. The Howland children made good matches, with one daughter marrying James Roosevelt, and another marrying James Brown of Brown Brothers Harriman. The most significant Howland marriage was a business merger with the Aspinwall family. Like the Howlands, the Aspinwalls were in the shipping business prior to the American Revolution. Around the turn of the 19th century, John Aspinwall married Susan Howland. The new Howland and Aspinwall firm generated great profits in the China trade.